Hey watercolor people, you're gonna set up a color wheel, which is basically a diagram that teaches us about color relationships. And it'll look something like this, where you have two circles that are cut up into 12 pieces that here kind of look like petals or slices of sorts. And you'll have one bigger ring and then one smaller ring, and then we're gonna number them. If you have at home a compass and a protractor, that's going to make this super simple, but you don't need to have those things in order to make it work. I'll show you how to do it with the compass and protractor first, and then I'll show you some tips on kind of how you can do it if you don't have those tools. But for both methods, you're going to start by marking the center of the paper, and if you've got a compass, you can put the point of the compass at that mark and stretch out so that the radius of your circle is like the widest on the short end of the paper. Does that make sense? So if I were like this and I stretched it all the way out, my circle would go off the page. So I'm at the short end, the shorter side of the paper, and I've got the pencil stretched out. And I'm just gonna actually just spin the paper and then squeeze in the compass so that I can make my next circle, and then do a third one that's smaller so that I've got like a target sign. So 3 concentric circles. And then if I've got a protractor, I can just line up the center of the protractor with that center mark and make a tick mark at 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, and 180. So every 30 degrees. And then I'm going to flip it around and mark every 30 degrees again. So line up the center with the center. And then mark 0, which is already marked. And then 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, and 180 is already marked. And from here I can take anything that has a straight edge, even another piece of paper. This is just a piece of mat board. And I'm going to line up the tick marks across from each other and through the center line. So like this. And these marks that I'm making, they're sort of dark so that you can see them in the video, but you can make all of these marks pretty light because they're actually just going to be guidelines for you to make your next marks, which are the shapes that you'll actually be painting in. So it'll look something like this. If you don't have these tools, what it might look like instead is just tracing some circular things that you find around the house. So here's a plate that fits pretty well. Just gonna trace around it. And then I found a glass. Try and line it up. I'm just eyeballing it in the middle. And a quarter. And that'll work pretty well. And then I'm just going to find what is the top, and then take something straight. Here's my middle. Make sure I have my middle marked. Take something straight and just line up what I made for the top, and what am I trying to say? Line up this mark and this mark with your straight edge, and you can use that to make a line all the way across. And now we know that this is split in half. Turn the paper side to side and do the same thing so that you've got like crosshairs now through the target. And now you can just eyeball splitting these into thirds. So here and here. Here and here, here and here, here and here. So I've got a sort of evenly spaced 3 sections, and then I'll just do the tick marks across, again through the center. And they're not going to be perfect because I was eyeballing them, so I can kind of, you know, fudge it a little bit. Okay, so with both methods I've gotten to here, and so at this point now I'm actually going to work the shapes in between the guidelines. So I've got petals. So I'm really just creating what I guess I'll just keep calling petals in between my borders. This, as I'm making this video, I'm kind of realizing is probably more complicated than it needs to be. You might find a really simple way to do it and just kind of draw it out as you see in this example. And let that be that. But this, you know, this is a good method. Sometimes I overcomplicate things, so